Seeing a ton of people mad that prices are up. So I don't know what's wrong with those dudes.
GM friends, and thanks for tuning in to DeFi-Logic's TA Tuesday at 12 p.m. Mountain Time. Server members enjoy weekly community calls, request chart reviews, and join in on live discussions. The link is in the video description below. In today's community call, we will review charts for Trader Joe, GMX, Aimbot, Blockchain Bets, Solana, Avalanche, Bitcoin, ETH to Bitcoin, and for legacy markets, S&P 500, Dow Jones Industrial, NASDAQ, Dollar Index, US 10-year bonds, and finally, gold. And with that, this is the Scalp indicator that's in beta testing. We have an open trade right now, and I am up personally in about 48 hours. I'm up 12%. So you can see that all these trades that executed all the way up, some of them seem a little risky, but apparently the strategy doesn't think so. Here you can see all the trades that executed. And on the chart, you can see this healthy curve. And granted, this is just over 2 days, but we had Cryptics testing it for, I think, over a week now, and his chart is looking very healthy as well. So if you're interested in testing this trading indicator, go ahead and drop your TradingView username in the server, and we will give you access and help you set it up through Astrobit if that's what you want to do, or if you just want to use it as confirmation of your own TA, which you should be doing anyway with our strategy, making sure. And if you could see here, you can close the position at any time with Astrobit. You can open the position and short and long as well. I will bring Eddie up. He will show us the way through the TA.
Everyone, hope we are all happy because prices are up. Seeing a ton of people mad that prices are up. So I don't know what's wrong with those dudes. Let's just run through this all real quick. So last week, it looks like I was looking for some weakness above these highs, and we never got it. We closed straight through it. We never came back below it. So we were talking about it in the server the other day, like this crazy pump that Bitcoin is having. It doesn't make sense. Like all my indications of, hey, this should be resistance, we should be looking to pull back, aren't happening. So to me, this is just people front running the news still. Like all the crypto natives obviously front ran the ETF news, but we're getting so close to that decision date now that I just think that this is those institutions buying at this point, because nothing else really makes sense. They're buying straight into resistance like Michael Saylor would and stuff. So we all know that the market can be irrational longer than you think it is, and it's just proving it. So at this point though, we have a pretty good draw. I think you're probably safe to just keep buying dips on it until maybe right before, I think the expected release date of the news is supposed to be January 5th through the 10th or something like that. And shout out GeForce, because his little trading bot is absolutely destroying this Bitcoin move, doing really good. But right now we have a pretty good clear draw on liquidity. One of my friends actually pointed this out to me probably when we were here. Actually, when I first thought that this was going to be resistance, he pointed this out, and now this chart is circulating around Twitter. So shout out to my boy for leading the way on that. So I think we're probably going to just go clear into this area now, 48K. It sounds crazy to say, but it just seems like that's where we're trending at this point. I think you're safe to continue just to buy dips on it. As far as a level goes, this candle to me tells me that we're going to be retracing, but then it just kept going up. So maybe if we get some sort of low time frame, I like it better on the daily actually. I think if we get something down to here, like today's low, if you can sweep it, that's your easy entry, but we're not really getting easy entries lately, at least this week, right? So I don't know, keep an eye on that. One thing that I want to mention, we're not going to go over, but the Bitcoin on-chain stuff, like the ORDI and sats and all that stuff's pumping like crazy too. So there's some beta over there. And then Ethereum has been super weak still. So I don't exactly remember what our plan was. It was obviously to long it for higher. And if you're in it, then we're still looking for higher. We never got that big dip. So, and I don't think that's really going to happen anymore. It just doesn't seem, it seems like Bitcoin isn't going to stop, and it's just dragging the market with it. So I forgot what my target was here, but probably around here would be a good target to look at for Ethereum. This is a lot of inefficient price action that should get filled. Hopefully. Ethereum's been very weak. One thing I do want to point out, I pointed this out on Twitter, but just to point it out here, it did break out of this. Oh, look, Big Time. That thing is pumping hard. I mentioned that in the gaming section too. Big Time's going good. I don't know what it is, but it's a good coin to buy also. Okay, so we broke out of this huge consolidation that's been going on since May of 20. So the idea for this is any dips into it, which I've been buying. I bought this one. Any dips into these areas. I even had another line. Let me pull it up really quick. Pretty sure I had a higher one. Oh, never mind. So any dip into this like range breakout is worth buying, I think. The only bad thing is it's been really outperforming. But the reason why this is like a good trade is because it's breaking out of a huge consolidation. And that's what Bitcoin did. And once it did that, it's been running like crazy, right? So that was the 32.5 area, and it's just been, it's about 43 right now. So hopefully Ethereum can play the same, but it's just been a lot weaker. Vitalik needs to do to push it. When you look at the Ethereum to Bitcoin ratio, it's just all its juice. So it's really not a great coin to be in, even though I am in it as a trade. But I also have Bitcoin too. Bitcoin's going to perform harder. Maybe we'll see what happens at these lows if it can start to reverse again, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen with the Bitcoin ETF coming around the corner. Okay, let's look at Joe. We've been looking at Joe in the server for a bit now. It's been slowly going up lately, and originally I was wanting a nice dip on it, but we never really got it. It's been pretty strong, but it's also been flipping this level, so it's pretty much the same thing that we're looking at Ethereum. It's flipping it right now. Hold on, let me get that out of the way. But this thing can run pretty hard. I think if it can get past this little zone too, that's probably going to be, if you're already in it, which I don't remember if I bought it or not. You'd probably want to take some profit as you're coming into here, maybe wait to see if it takes out the highs, but it has a pretty good way to go. This is like the next major resistance area on the weekly. Yeah, maybe you could even get some of these highs too, but it's got a nice room to run. Where'd my little thing go? So even if you just bought it here, 15% pump up into this area, 40% into that area, it's definitely got room to go. So it looks really good. I think for like a lower time frame pullback, any sort of retest that you get into this whole zone right here, yesterday's high down to like this that high time frame resistance area of this, 40 area, I think that'd be good. And you probably just want to use this as your invalidation for now. It may dip down a little bit lower, so it'd be like a soft stop loss. If you start getting like bearish price action below it, then you'd want to get out, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm pretty sure this is going to play that range play. Looks like it wants to. That's Joe. Joe looks nice. GMX, same thing. I dropped this idea in the server the other day. I did end up buying some spot GMX. We're basically right around my entry. We've just been consolidating it. We have this range here. Hold on. I think I was looking at it in a higher time frame because it's an ugly chart. Yeah. So basically I have this as your low, this is your range high, this is your midpoint. If it can flip the midpoint of it, you have a pretty nice gap to fill there as well. So I think it'll happen. It looks really good too. Joe has a little bit more room to run, but both are a really good place to be in. If it can flip this high too, then you're aiming up here, obviously. Same idea though, if it can dip down into this low again, or maybe even at this point now that more price action has developed, I would even look to get into something right here. If it can start tagging these lows, I'll add to my position. And if it can flip this area, I'll add to the position as well. So GMX is looking good. It's one of those coins though, where this is like big brain stuff and the money's going to all the memes. So, oh, I didn't see that Aimbot was on there. I'll pull Aimbot up in a little bit, but let's look at AVAX since I have it here right now. Potentially rotation from Solana to Avalanche. I haven't looked at, I've been looking at it, but not really. So let's see what AVAX wants to do. I mean, it looks pretty similar to Ethereum where it's breaking out of this high time frame level. So that's good. It filled in some of this inefficient price action on this daily candle, which is something you want to see. I think even right now, like even if you were to just buy it right now on a spot position with your invalidation being this little section right here, if that can be your rounded bottom, then it looks pretty good. Target's up here. And if it's really bullish, it even come up here. So it looks pretty decent. Everything looks the same, right? But I think it's just Bitcoin is pulling the market up. But yeah, AVAX looks pretty good. AVAX looks really good, actually. I like it. Okay, moving on. BCB. servers printing money on this one. So let's see here. It broke out of this range and just flew. I was expecting, I was wanting a big pullback to load up a lot. We never got it. But then I did in the server mention buying at 28, which it tagged it pretty nicely. And it's just been consolidating. It came down, filled that entry, and then it's just been consolidating above. But it's really nice. The only thing is I can't tell if this is a bullish consolidation. I'm gonna assume it is just because of the conditions we have in the market, or if this is like a distribution. So it's hard for me to know if we're accumulating here or if we're distributing here. Really, the only way you'll know is once we break out, which is like whatever. But I know that the team's been doing a ton of stuff. Let's see. Yeah, the team's just been working really good. So I want to delete some of the slower stuff. That I don't think you're going to get this big of a dip anymore unless some huge FUD, if BCB gets hacked or something, then maybe it'll come down here again. But even then, if something like that were to happen, I think you're safe to just go all in on it because they're doing a really good job. So I would just look for this range low still. If it can come back down into this is going to be our new buy zone. We'll see. I don't know if it will get it. If it can flip some of these highs, then we'll see some new ones. That's what I'm watching at. No point to really be buying here in the middle. I want to do business at the extremities. So once it comes down below or flips the highs, when I want to get more in. But BCB looks really good. Sold. So this week's daily dose theme is Solana. So check it out. The in-depth reports are going to be coming by the analysis in the DeFi-Logic's server. Sol had a really nice run, but the same thing is just consolidating now. It's hard to know what it wants to do. It's been weak as of the last couple days, right? While some of the other stuff has been pumping really hard. I still sold long term, but I just feel like it's got some time to cool off. It is forming a pretty decent support right here. So I think this is where you position with your invalidation being if it's starting to lose these lows. It is like a double bottom though, and crypto loves to attack the double bottoms. So you would need to be really careful with that. So one idea would be like buy some now and then have some limits below there. And if it starts accepting below it, and we start seeing price action make that a resistance, then you're going to want to get out. So it's a hard thing to play unless you know how to read price action. So maybe like a simpler idea would just be something like buy some here, buy some down here, with the stop loss just being like below these lows maybe. Because if it starts losing this area, it's going to start filling in some of this right here. But if it can start breaking out, it has room to run also. We're looking like somewhere up here. Tons of inefficient price action to fill up. So at least here, maybe even higher. But I think there's some other things that are pumping harder at this moment, right? So it's tough to give really anything like this, or you can also wait for some flips of these levels too. Obviously it's a smaller thing, but you could probably have a more clean setup. Because now that I look at this on the daily, like I could see this same idea with BCB, like why not come back down and buy at the range low instead of playing around in the middle? So that's my take on Sol. All right, let's pull up Aimbot really quick. Okay, Aimbot. So new features for holders of 50 plus tokens will be released this week on Thursday. I think that's like kind of their whole thing, right? Is you're going to get access to the Aimbot essentially, which I don't know a ton about it. I know Cryptics and some other guys do, but it seems every time I hear about it, it seems really like a really cool project. And it's still just doing its thing. So depending on how far away that release is, this could be a time to start buying some more as it's revisiting this section again. And I'd be comfortable just buying all the way through it because you hope that there's enough hype that it can start to go back up for the release of that, especially since you have to buy 50 coins. There's at least some sort of buy pressure with it. And I still want to see new highs on it. I think it's very capable and the team's pumping out some good stuff. So that would be really my first take profit target. If you buy X amount, maybe de-risk it right there and then ride a free bag. That'd be my strategy with it, but I don't see why we wouldn't come through on this section here with everything that they're releasing. It will probably be a sell the news event though. So once that bot is released, definitely buy more than you want, right? Because let's say if you only buy 50 tokens, it'll probably be a sell the news. So if you buy 100 tokens, you can de-risk it, hopefully up here, and then the market will probably sell off. And then Who knows what they'll do? The team will have to start pumping out stuff again, and hopefully it can have another run. But that, I think, is going to be all for me today, unless you guys want one bonus one, because I love doing those ones. But we did have an alert go off on, Ethereum's pumping. Good. I wanted to talk about this coin really quick, because like I was saying at the beginning of the stream, a lot of activity has been happening on the BRC chain, or whatever they call it. And this is what I'm saying when I look at things like Solana and like AVAX. I'm like, yeah, it looks good. The market likes other things more right now. And this has been playing pretty easy retail patterns too. So this is a really easy coin to get in, because you can just come over here and draw your little trend line. And when it breaks, you can just buy, right? New idea, draw your trend line, it breaks, buy. So this is easy trades. When the market's giving you these easy trades, you need to take them, because each one of those is producing a ton for you, right? 15% pump. I probably would have TP'd that right there at about that much. Another 15% pump. So this one's even more. I think this was like a 30% one so far. Yeah. So anyways, keep an eye on the BRC20 tokens, because they're going really hard. But with that, I will go ahead and pass it on back to you guys.
Thanks, Eddie. We will bring up GeForce for legacy markets.
Okay, thanks, Pepe. So not much going on with the legacy markets. We had a holiday last week with Thanksgiving, and not a lot going on right now. So looking at the S&P 500 chart, looking at the daily, you can see that we've had such a run-up since the end of October. It's on parabolic, and you can understand why things are going sideways now. I have a little bit of a range that isn't much of a range that we're looking at here. It tried to hit 4,600. It came 1 point shy of 4,600 last Friday. So it came in at 45.99. You can see that high there. And so it's gone sideways since. So this 45.30 mark is basically a high that we had all the way back here. And I just drew the line because that was the recent high where we're pumping up to it back on September 1st. So that's the only reason why that line's there. And then 4,600, of course, is a mental number that people like. So we're trading sideways. The only thing that's going to happen, I think, this week will be the unemployment numbers come out pre-market on Friday. And I think that's the only thing that's going to move it one way or the other. Right now, it's just trending sideways. So that's S&P 500. Moving on to NASDAQ. NASDAQ is the same way in the sense that it's trading sideways, as you guys can see. Again, this 15,088 was a high way back here that we had back in, actually pretty far back, July 18th. So that line is drawn at that point, that level. So you can see where it tagged it here in the middle of November, pulled back, then we cleared it back on November 20th. Then it's traded sideways, hit a peak here at 16,166, and then let's pull back to it. Now, NASDAQ yesterday tagged right there the standard deviation line, and I had this little mark here, which was 15,000. Okay, move it over there. All right, so it tagged that standard deviation line, and it opened right at it today, and then it's moving back up. So that is a range that you'll see on a daily chart that looks like it's firming up as a bottom. Okay, so you can see how it whipped down and it moved back up yesterday. Basically, the open and close is like nil with NASDAQ. Then it opened lower today, now it's going back up again, trying to get up to that 15,088 mark. Excuse me, 15,888 mark on that. Moving now to the Dow Jones 30. Again, a daily chart. It's just gone parabolic as well. Again, this number, 35,630, is a number we hit way back here. And that, look at that level right here back in August 1st. So it's blown through it. It's blown through it. It came up to the upper 2x band on Friday. It blew through that 2x band. Now it's trading around the 2x band again, and it's a little bit below. So I think, as I mentioned last week, and I've also been mentioning in Stock Saturdays, that Santa Claus rally. Again, the Santa Claus rally, the main factor, I think, is not necessarily economic news. I think it's the news that the Fed would probably continue to pause on interest rates. That helps markets and also helps Bitcoin a bit significantly, that they're not going to keep raising rates. So I think another factor, the second factor, is that, again, last year the markets were negative 20%. S&P was, at least. And so the big brokers and big banks need to make some money this year. Last year they didn't make any money. They were at a loss, so they need to make that up. And they're going to push things as high as they can this month at the end of the year. I mean, look at what this is doing. All the markets are doing. We got two major wars going on. So it's not about geopolitics. It's all actually about money, unfortunately, but they need to make their money. Moving on to the dollar index, US dollar, you can see that we're trying to hit that standard deviation line right here. That standard deviation line is 104.09, but you look at it, it's actually rebounding. You can see we've had in November 4 lows. Low here first part of November, low here again on November 14th, low here again on November 20th, and then a low here again on the 28th. So now we're coming back up. We're actually showing some strength, and it didn't tag that standard deviation line, but we'll be tagging it pretty soon. So if you look back to, which is all the way back in August, you'll see that we pumped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And now in November, we've gone down 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Okay, so it should start stabilizing and coming back up with the US dollar. So the key here going forward is it going to hit that standard deviation line and then fall back down again and possibly form a double bottom at this level here around 102.66, or is it going to go above that standard deviation line, bounce down to it, hit it, and then bounce back up again? So those are the two options I'm looking at to see what they're going to do. And again, that has a good correlation to crypto, especially with Bitcoin and ETH. I'm going to save gold for last. Let's move down to the US 10-year yield. This has been working and it's been continually going down, as you can see here. Let's open this up a little bit more. We've had basically a low here. First part of November, we've had a low again in November 22nd. Then we've had a recent low. This was a low. I had this marker here, but today I moved it down because we've had another low, which is good for the markets. It's good for the equity markets, not necessarily for the bond market. Well, bond prices are going up when yields go down. So the bond market is rallying as well. Again, bond players and traders need to make money too, so they're probably going to rally the bond prices up by the end of the year, which means the yields are going to be going down. So I expect this yield to keep going down in the month of December. I don't see anything pushing the bond yields higher again, especially, again, if the Fed bank is going to ease, not raise rates, then these yields will continue going down. And that's what this chart, the 10-year yield chart, is showing, that interest rates aren't going to be hiked by the Federal Reserve Bank anytime soon. So it's going to keep tanking. Okay, last is gold. Okay, talked about gold a long time ago, and it's having a time and a half right now for gold traders that are going nuts. Okay, I talked about it way back here in end of October, that when it hit 2,000, that it's probably going to trade back down to the 1980 level, which it did. Went even further. Okay, so it really shook out some bulls and went all the way down to this point right here of 938, which I didn't think it'd go down that far. I thought maybe it'd bounce off the standard deviation line. Well, it shook out even further. That's what happens basically with crypto as well, is that it shakes people really out, and it always takes longer than you think to run back up. But it did run back up. I mean, look at this, boom, blows through the 1980 level, blows through the 2000 level, and then we hit all the way to 2070. This wick right here, I mean, I tried to confirm this wick. All the charts do confirm this wick. So that high on that wick basically was 2041. So that wick is valid. So if somebody posted that or traded that, who knows? Maybe a bank. So, and if they did, then they lost. Probably a big party because it's gone down since. So whoever bought at this level is really hurting right now. So what's going to happen, I think, with gold is go back down to 2,000 again, and then it's going to run up for next year. Again, because we got two major wars going on, and those wars are significant. I'm not going to underestimate them. The casualties are significant, the human loss, just the civilians, what they got to go through in those regions, unbelievable. Anyway, I think it'll go back up, but it probably will test this 2,000 level again. Okay, that's gold, and I'm going to wrap it up for today. Thanks a lot.
So that's it for this week. As a member of DeFi-Logic, you can request charts, discuss markets daily with other server members, and again, if you're interested in the TradingView indicator strategies, come on in the server, drop your TradingView username, and we will provide you access for free during beta and alpha testing periods, depending on the strategy. Join the server now. Early members get free server access for life and future discounts on additional products and services like the Scalp strategy when we make that a paid service. We will see you next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Mountain Time, and thanks for watching on YouTube.
Join us next week in Discord for TA Tuesday at DeFiLogic.com.